What's up everybody, hope all is well. So there's a super secret new game mode and I've played it for that matter. So have you. Curious situation, apparently a stealth launch and it takes the game in a bold new direction. Overwatch has been boiled down to its essence and a brand new objective type's been introduced, because why worry about those other goals when we can get right to the point of inflating your ego by ruining the game for others. This video is actually about the Overwatch 2 Matchmaker, but just roll with the joke for now. It'll make sense, I promise. Now, the new game mode, it's called Spawn Camp and is, I think, an homage to Blizzard's corporate culture. The objective is to eliminate any and all fairness and enjoyment entirely for everyone while also not telling them. That's very important, that last part.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
And they knocked it out of the park. The maps have been redesigned so the entire level is actually the lobby for one team now. This provides more ample room for sharing souvenirs and emoting. It's a sort of PvP-PvE hybrid where the attacking team is one player and 4 bots, which are continually leaving and joining, so you as the player need to solve that environmental puzzle. The defending team consists of 5 real players who can select any hero they want. So long metas, am I right? Thank you, Blizz, it's actually genius on their part. So, okay, joke's overplayed, but does everyone understand where I'm coming from? If you've played Overwatch recently, the shortcomings, actually scratch that, the failings of its matchmaker are obvious. I've experienced more lopsided steamrolls in the last month of Overwatch 2 than I did in 6 years of Classic. Not all are to a spawn camping degree, but that's definitely happening. Thinking back to Overwatch 1 being spawn camp like your entire team actually stuck in the spawn was rare, really rare. But I am curious, is the matchmaker to blame, or is it just the steamrolling nature of 5v5? So let's get into it. I want to share some matches I played this week, discuss why matchmaking is so bad, or at least perceived to be, what are the repercussions, and should they fix it? Let's do it! Is matchmaking actually getting worse, or is it just the snowbally nature of 5v5? Why not both? And worth noting, both sides of the argument seem to fundamentally agree there's a quality problem here. So hear me out.
Well, wait, let me explain something to you.
Remember at launch how both tank and DPS had queue time issues? The general thinking was, yeah, obviously because no one wants to play support. But here we are, roughly 3 months in, likely with fewer players than the launch frenzy, with no real buffs to the support role, tons of buffs to tank and DPS, and somehow, miraculously, queue times have drastically improved. It's a miracle. We don't have a way to prove the matchmaker's off, but there's a growing sentiment saying, I see what you did there, Blizz. A decline in the quality of our matches, an improvement in queue times, and a smaller player base suggests Blizz loosened up the matchmaker to ensure faster queues instead of good games. That's not just feasible, but likely as far as I'm concerned. Blizz knows if queue times are bad, Overwatch 2 will be exposed as a failure of 5v5, so they're sacrificing everything, including match quality, at that altar. But on the flip side, there's absolutely a snowball quality to 5v5. With just one tank, pretty much every fight is over when one of them goes down. Ideally you retreat and regroup, but typically end up back in the spawn because mobility is just so prominent in the game now. There's always a tank or DPS to run you down. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. I routinely see top 500 and bronze players in my matches, and I routinely see the same people. That suggests the player base has shrunk and the matchmaker's been relaxed. Maybe significantly. But at the same time, you can't deny the steamrolling nature of 5v5. Between the two, Overwatch as we'd come to know it is a distant memory, and I mean distant. A good match is really rare. That sounds harsh, but I'm not being a jerk, it's just my honest opinion. And there is one more thing to consider here. Is this Blizzard's way of acclimating new players to the game by sort of throwing them into the ocean and saying, sink or swim, buddy, good luck? To me, this is doubtful. It would run contrary to the new player experience they've touted so much. It seems like they're going to great lengths to ease new players into the game. See map pools, But we know they do shady things like matching new players with no cosmetics with veterans who have the best cosmetics in hope of instilling envy and getting them to buy from the shop. who's to say that sort of stuff doesn't supersede making actual good matches? And because we have so little faith in Blizz these days, my mind wanders all over thinking of random reasons like that. They put something else ahead of match quality. Now, there is a silver lining here. In my experience, this problem is limited to quick play for the most part. The same issues are present in comp, but to a much lesser degree. I am concerned this trend will slowly creep into that mode though, especially because Overwatch 2 doesn't seem to be being received well by the public, and I think the player base, at least the experienced veteran player base, is shrinking significantly. I think it's just a matter of time until they have to open that matchmaker up too. These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, and because of that I typically only create one when there's something seriously on my mind, you know what I mean? The subject needs to approach a certain level of ridiculousness, a certain degree of player impact before it rises to a level of import that motivates me to make a video. Up until this week I was rolling with a matchmaker. I noticed it, but I could still find a decent match here and there. All that changed. It's feeling like a car crash in slow motion. We've all seen it coming and knew it could get bad, but right now, in the last week or two, it seems like the moment of impact is here. I can't imagine it getting much worse than it is right now. I found myself actually stopping playing and just taking the carnage in, just watching what are obviously very high-ranked players totally mop the floor with what are obviously either entirely new or entirely bad players. I mean, I'm in that group. You know, it's a sight to behold though, one that both entertains and saddens me. So allow me to enter Exhibit A into evidence. In a single weekday,
what day is this?
I competed in 8 quick play matches in a row. It was a rough ride, as you'll see, but before we go through them, I want to say I'm not blaming bad teammates here. I'm sure I was equally outmatched or playing as bad, so, you know, context. Okay, let's do it. First match, attack on Dorado. Made it halfway to the first point after 5 minutes, loss. Second match, defend on Parisio, full push with 4.5 minutes left, loss. Third match, push mode on Coliseo. I quit before it started because, you know, push. Fourth match, attack on Rialto. Now again, I'm as much to blame for these losses here, but like, look at this. A Widow standing in the middle of the map. Literally can't be positioned any worse than this. What kind of teammates are you giving me here, Blizz? Man, it's crazy. Anyways, attack on Rialto. Made it halfway to the first point after 5 minutes. Loss again. Big surprise there, right? Fifth match, attack on Blizzard World. 0% capped after 5 minutes. Loss. Oh boy, this is getting rough. You guys sensing a trend here? But wow, what a miracle. Look at this. Sixth match, attack on Parisio, full push with 5.5 minutes left. As a win. I mean, look at this poor player in chat, thinking, quote unquote, they suck at the game when it's likely they just got mismatched. Stuff like that really does bother me. It should bother Blizz as well. Seventh match, attack on Junkertown, full push with 6 minutes left. That's a win. And finally, the 8th quick play match, attack on Eichenwald, full push with 6.5 minutes left. That's another win. So, to summarize, that's 7 straight matches and not a single one was even close to competitive. Decisive steamrolls time after time, and I didn't honestly have fun in a single one. I mean, you know, whatever, it was tolerable, but it's not like I logged off being like, oh, those are amazing matches, wow. There's no middle ground, there's no tough fights, no tough matches, it's all or nothing. Now, this is just 7 games, I get that, but it's still a snapshot of reality that somewhat confirms my, you know, quote unquote feelings that most matches, at least in quick play, are stomps. As for ladder, well, as I alluded to earlier, match quality was much better. I still saw some troubling signs, but of the 5 matches I played for this video, not a single one was a blowout. I did go back and review player profiles where possible, but most were locked, so I couldn't glean anything there. But what really stuck out to me in comp was just how critical tanks are. If we had a gold tank and the enemies had a diamond tank, it was straight up game over. There's no amount of carry, DPS, or support can do to overcome a tank difference of that magnitude. So let's assume we're correct, that match quality is suffering and it's not, you know, all in our heads. Whether it's from the matchmaker, the steamrolling nature of 5v5, or some other weird nebulous reason like cosmetic matchmaking, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that players and the gameplay experience are getting worse. But what's that mean long term? How's it impact us in the long term health of the game? Well, when I think about veteran players, my mind goes to a place of toxicity. Hear me out. I'd argue most veteran players will continue playing no matter what. I mean, there's a limit to the garbage we'll tolerate, but if you've been playing through thick and thin in the last 7 years, odds are some bad matches won't make you quit. Overwatch is an entirely unique game, and aside from maybe TF2, which is debatable, there's no real alternatives worth considering. So in a sense, we're all stuck here. Assuming this poor match quality continues, the result will be a segment of the player base that's just grown jaded and toxic, and that will materialize in matches with others. You just know there are some veteran players who will make it their sole mission to ruin the game for new players, those whom they see as the enemy, the free-to-play players, those who the game was changed for. When I think about new players, I get a bit disheartened. Put yourself in their shoes. Most of their matches are steamrolls, often on the losing side, and matches of that low quality don't make people want to continue playing. They're asking themselves, am I just bad at the game, or is Blizz matching me with way better players? I thought Overwatch was a MOBA shooter with a higher time to kill, but why am I getting insta-gibbed? Why can veterans make certain heroes or comps work, but I can't? Is it normal to lose 80% of your matches? Do I need to keep going? You see what I'm getting at? When you're new to a game, especially one this complex, the feeling that you aren't getting better and will likely never be as good as those you're competing against is really demoralizing. I mean, ask yourself, if you were in that situation, would you keep playing? And this is the segment of players we're all relying on to keep us financially afloat, so I don't know. But I think there's an additional layer to the matchmaking problem as well. Let's call it the entourage effect. Like 2CP, once it was widely discussed and acknowledged that that mode was bad, everyone, even those without opinion, kind of fell in line and decided to quit 2CP matches. At first, it was just the odd person here and there who left, but by the end of Overwatch 1, do you remember? Literally everyone left. Entire teams turned over 2 or 3 times before the match even started. Well, that's what's happening with the matchmaker and game quality now in Overwatch 2. The poor state of matchmaking is widely discussed and acknowledged, and at the first sign of any mismatched games, people are leaving. Top 500 Challenger title? Peace out. Console players on my team but not theirs? Peace out. Spawn camped? Peace out. New tank player? Peace out. Bottom line, when I weigh the pros and cons, I don't see how this situation is good for anyone or the game. It's very antithetical to that brighter future for everyone Overwatch was based on. Sure, queue times have gotten better, but at the expense of match quality. And to such a degree, it's problematic. It will cause players to leave, and likely already has. That's probably why matchmaking seemed to be getting worse over the last few weeks. So it is what it is, just Overwatch being Overwatch, but a big part of me is starting to care less and less for one reason. PvE's coming this year, baby! Supposedly. And with that, I'm done. Appreciate taking the time. Take care of one another, and I will see you soon.